A couple months ago, I created a video called How Much I Make in a Month as a writer, YouTuber, and freelancer. I dove into all of my creative income streams from YouTube to freelancing, which is also my only income right now because I am currently unemployed. Now, while I may not be making enough money to replace my former full-time job yet, I am now at the point where I'm making over $1,000 a month from my creativity, and I'm really, really proud of that. I asked you guys if you had any questions about my experience making money as a creative, any advice questions, and you came through with some fire ones. So we're gonna sit down together today and I'm gonna answer some of your questions about building a creative career and all the nitty-gritty details of how I've been able to make consistent creative revenue happen for myself. So if that sounds good to you, grab a drink for yourself. I don't know if that picked up like any cool pouring sounds, but if it did, that would be awesome. Get comfy and let's get into it. So I'm going to be breaking all of this down into different categories of questions. Feel free to jump around to what interests you the most. I'll have chapters down in the description. I really recommend if you are new around here or have never seen me before watching that video where I break down my income streams, because that's going to explain to you how I'm making money. But if you want the TLDR, I'm a writer. I make content around writing. So this YouTube channel is the main root of all of my income streams. And so I'm making money from YouTube AdSense, sponsorships on this channel, my critique freelance services, so I offer manuscript critiques, affiliates, so affiliate links, if people click my links and use them, I make a small commission, and then Ko-fi, which is a donation platform. And then recently I added Patreon to the list of things that I'm doing as well. So I guess now it's 6 income streams, but that's basically how I'm making my money. A lot of it is centered around this YouTube channel, sharing my creative process on YouTube and being a content creator, as well as being a freelancer. Now that you're all caught up, let's answer your guys' questions. You guys had some really great detailed questions, so I'm going to be trying to get through as many as I possibly can. Starting off with some more overarching questions. The first one is, how much money would you need to make monthly before you felt comfortable not working a traditional job? My sort of North Star, the amount where I would feel comfortable really saying that I'm a full-time self-employed person, is $4,000 a month. That number is one that I came to by thinking about sort of what my jobs have paid me in the past, as well as my cost of living here in Seattle. So 2 years ago, I had a job that was paying just about $4,000 a month, and I was able to essentially scrape by on that income. It was not super cushy or comfortable, but I was okay. I could pay for the things I needed to pay for, and it was fine. I feel pretty confident that, especially with my cost of living having gone down slightly since moving from Los Angeles to Seattle, that I would be able to make $4K a month work. At that point, I think I would fully feel confident saying, okay, I don't need to go get a job. This can sustain me. I can be fine with this. And obviously I would hope it would continue to grow from there. Sort of going off of that, do you think you'll make enough soon to avoid a day job? To give you guys a glimpse of how things have evolved since creating the original income video, November was a really good month for me. That's the best month that I've had so far income-wise, because I was able to make my rent. And so that was the first time that happened, and it was a really big milestone for me. Then I saw another dip in December, which I think can pretty obviously be attributed to the fact that I took multiple weeks off of work in December to go home for the holidays. And because I feel like I'm still in the early stages of building my business, it's not at the point yet where I can not really see a dip when I take time off. It was pretty obvious. I was uploading less, etc. So my income suffered pretty directly. I say all that to say that it has not been a steady incline month over month. It's been kind of a little more unexpected, and I just see how the cookie crumbles each month. So with that in mind, I have a really hard time predicting or estimating what I can expect to see in the future. I'm assuming that things are going to stay in a similar range as they have been, but in terms of me seeing additional growth and stuff, I don't know whether or not that's going to happen. Obviously, I would love for that to happen. I never know if I'm going to get a sponsorship email or a new opportunity. I never know how many clients are going to show up in my inbox. So much of it is unpredictable. And even though now I'm like, okay, I can probably expect at least $1,000 in a month. There are months where my critique clients go to almost zero. And then there's other months where it spikes. And same thing with sponsors. Same thing with AdSense. AdSense is a little more temperate, but there's still a lot of fluctuation there. So with that being said, like when I'm going to hit that threshold, that 4K a month, that livable money, I have no idea when that's going to happen. Like I can make guesses. I can make like hopes. Like I said, I'm kind of trying to just take it month by month, do everything I can to do as well as I can this month. And then I'll do the same thing next month and we'll just see how things continue to progress. That being said, I do kind of feel like maybe in 6 months to the next year, I do kind of expect to be able to make enough money to replace a day job with the creative income. Can you do a breakdown of what you did with a certain number of followers? For example, how many followers did you have when you started affiliates, sponsorships, etc.? I thought this was super interesting. I had to go dig into my stats for this one. Affiliates, I started pretty much as soon as I started my channel. Affiliates, you can really start very early on. Certain affiliate programs are pickier in terms of like the size of your following, but Amazon Associates, which is like the main platform for a lot of people, will let you in with a very small following, as well as a lot of the more like niche affiliate programs. Something like Scrivener, you're not going to need a crazy following. I would say start affiliates right away. Don't wait. I started making money from AdSense when I hit about 1,500 subscribers. That was about when I got monetized. You need at least 1,000 subscribers to get monetized, but you also have to hit a watch hours requirement. So I hit the subscriber requirement, but was still waiting on the watch hours. So it wasn't until I had 1,500 subscribers that I got monetized on YouTube, aka YouTube is running ads on my videos and I get a percentage of the money that YouTube makes from doing that, if that makes sense. That's what AdSense is. So it's the money that Google is actually paying me. Like I get a paycheck from Google every month, which is kind of cool. In terms of sponsorships, so I actually did my very first sponsor when I had only 1,300 subscribers. And then I started doing sponsorships regularly when I was at around 3,000 subscribers. Prior to this experience of going through this journey with this channel, I thought that I was going to have to wait a lot longer to start doing sponsors. The most common number that I've heard thrown around is around 10K subscribers is when sponsors start reaching out to you and you actually have like a little bit of leverage and all of that to do brand deals. I don't think that's true. That being said, I think it's very dependent on your engagement rate. From what I've experienced, brands care a lot more about your average views per video than they do your channel size, like your actual number of subscribers. So you can definitely start earlier than 10K subscribers if you have like a decent viewership per video, a consistent community that's showing up for your content. And then I started my freelance services at around 2,100 subscribers. And then I started my Patreon at 7K plus subscribers, 7,400, 7,500 subscribers, which is interesting. Looking at these numbers, honestly, a lot of them are a lot earlier than I even realized. I didn't realize I started my freelance services with only like 2,000 subscribers. That feels a lot more recent, but I guess I have had them available for a long time. They've just taken a bit of time to like really gear up. And now I finally feel like I'm like almost constantly doing client work. Hopefully that gives you a bit of a guideline. My advice would be wait until you have maybe 1K subscribers to really start thinking about monetizing. Besides affiliates, I would do affiliates right away. But once you hit 1K subscribers, you're pretty close to being monetized. I feel like that's also a great time to start thinking about sponsors, maybe emailing some people. Once you have a few K subscribers, definitely it's time that you can start thinking about brand deals. You don't need to wait until 10K, 15K, 20K, especially if you're in a niche like AuthorTube. There's a very clear and specific audience of writers that you're creating, and there are brands that specifically want to tap into creative audiences like that. So, okay, now we're going to dive more specifically into YouTube, starting with general YouTube questions. I'd be interested to know how your previous experience with film school helped you when starting your channel and any nuggets of information you found apply particularly well to YouTube. I've been reflecting a lot lately about how I think about YouTube and like my frame of mind surrounding YouTube. And I really do think that I view it as another art form. And it's something I want to lean into more and more with my channel, seeing my videos as a story and thinking about the storytelling of it, whether that's visual or through voiceover or like just how I'm crafting the narrative or the concept of a video in a way that's interesting and visually stimulating to me as the creator of that video. I feel like something that was instilled in me in film school is the power of a close-up. And it's something that I've been trying to implement more with my content lately, especially for like B-roll, or if I'm getting like vibey shots for like an intro or something. I've been doing a lot more close-ups. It's just a lot more visually interesting than like a classic wider or medium shot. You can really dial in on the details of a specific thing that you're focusing on. So that is something that I feel like I'm taking from the short films I was making and the things I was learning in film school, is just like the way that I do my shots, the close-ups that I use. The principle I've been kind of trying to be guided by is go wide for talking shots and go close for B-roll. And I feel like I really like that balance. Like I've liked doing a little bit more higher angle, wider shots when I'm talking, because it's just like more interesting. And then when I'm focusing on specific details, getting really close. How long did it take you to start making money on YouTube, and how long to make it sustainable? So this is kind of similar to the question we answered in terms of how many subscribers. We're only going to focus on this channel because it'll just get way too complicated if we talk about my other channel. But just know that I had a channel before this, so these numbers are just talking about this channel. I'd already been doing YouTube for a long time. I already kind of knew the ropes, and that is absolutely a factor on how long it took me to get to these numbers. I started my channel in late October of 2023. I did my first sponsor in March 2024. So it took me 5 months to do my first sponsor. Then I got monetized the following month. So 6 months to get monetized, aka start getting paychecks from Google. And then I started doing sponsors consistently in July 2024. So that was 9 months after starting my channel. But keep in mind, that was 3 years and 2 months after starting my first channel that I was finally getting consistent brand deals. So take the 9 months with a grain of salt, okay? Just want to make that super clear, because I am not trying to promote super fast, speedy timelines. YouTube is not a get-rich-quick scheme, blah, blah, blah. You guys know the spiel. As a fellow author tuber that just got monetized, I'm so curious about how you personally balance the idea of this is my creative passion and I want to pour artistic energy into the world, and this is my job. I need to make money. I want to go viral, etc. I found myself going back and forth between these ideas so much. I'd love to see your perspective. I have a lot of thoughts. First of all, I'll say, yes, there are concepts that I'm like, yeah, that would probably do well, but there are no guarantees on YouTube. And there have been videos that I thought were going to kill it in the algorithm, be bangers, that flopped. There are also videos that I thought were going to kill it in the algorithm that did, and vice versa. Like there's videos that I had no idea were going to perform well that did. You just never really know, right? So in that sense, I think trying to predict or create virality can sometimes be a bit of a maddening pursuit, because at the end of the day, you never really know what's going to work. But I am strategic about my content. I'm very strategic with what I do with my titles and thumbnails. The content of my videos is very true to what I want to create artistically. And I've gotten to that place after trying to do the whole song and dance of making content that I don't care about and I don't love, and realizing that that was not what I wanted to do anymore. The packaging of my videos, however, is frequently catered towards what's going to help boost me in the algorithm. And by boost me in the algorithm, I really just mean what's clickable, what is an audience member or someone who's never seen me before going to see and be intrigued by. And so I guess that would be how I navigate it. And I actually notice that the more I make my content true to my actual artistic vision, the more fun I have with it, the more I experiment with it, the more I make it something that I'm excited by, that pays off. Like that does well. If you're interested in what you're doing, if you feel like what you're doing is different or experimental, or you're just having fun with it, that comes through and people are going to resonate with that more. I would encourage you not to make types of videos or include conversations or topics in your videos that you're not proud of. Leave the strategic part of your brain, the I want this video to do well, I want to grow, I want to make money part of your brain. Leave that to the thumbnail and the title. That is the stuff that's going to really determine your video's performance, to be honest. And of course, like there are certain types of videos that we all know do well on AuthorTube. Brainstorm with me, outline with me, a lot of the stuff that's geared towards a more beginner writer, 10 tips to write your book, how to write your book faster, blah, blah, blah. I would say just do a gut check. Just check in with yourself. Does it feel authentic for you to create that content? And if it does, that's great. That's fine. For example, I made a couple like brainstorming type videos back in October and I had fun with them and I shared my genuine thoughts and process, and that was great. The more content you make, the more you'll realize, oh, actually making that video felt pretty crappy and I'm not going to do that again. And vice versa. Like, oh, I loved making that video. I want to make more content like that. Like that will start to come more naturally the more you make videos. How do you schedule your videos/filming? So I actually have a whole Notion page dedicated to YouTube and content planning. So that is my go-to hub for all things content planning. I'll include a screenshot here of what that ends up looking like. But essentially I have a little database where I'll plan the title of the video, the date that I want to post it. I'll input whether or not there's a sponsor. If it's a video that requires more notes, like a sit down video like this, I'll jot down any notes that I have. And that works pretty well for me. It helps me to keep track of what I'm posting as well as any deadlines or specific dates that I'm trying to stick to. And then in terms of like scheduling my filming, I'm actually trying to schedule filming less. I want to be a little bit more spontaneous about what days do I just feel like filming and filming on those days instead of feeling this pressure, oh, every Monday I need to start a vlog. I want to only do it when I feel like doing it. That's when I'm going to show up the best. And I do naturally get that itch to film a video sometimes. So I'm trying to lean into that more and actually plan my filming days a little less. Okay, I'm going to switch setups because I'm losing daylight and I think we're going to need to turn a lamp on in here. And I want to cozy up on the couch a little bit and then we'll talk all about sponsors and my critique services. Yay, I hope you guys are liking this video so far. I feel like I'm talking a lot. All right, let's talk sponsorships. First question, how do you get sponsorships or brand deals? Do they come to you or do you go to them? So I have reached out to brands before. Sometimes sponsorships feel a bit like dating apps. I do think there's an element of if the brand is the one to reach out to you, you have more bargaining power. You already know that they're interested in you. This brand saw my platform, they saw something they liked. They want to work with me. I already know that. Cool. I can negotiate freely. Versus when you're reaching out to a brand, you don't know whether or not they're going to find you attractive, whether they're going to see your page, your stat, your vibe, be interested in working with you. You don't know if they're accepting partnerships at this time. It's a little bit more of a shot in the dark. Most of my successful deals have come from me being approached. That being said, there was at least one brand that I can think of where I had reached out to them through like an interest form, and then they emailed me a long time after that. I don't know whether or not they emailed me because I expressed interest or if it was unrelated. I do still think it's worth it though. If your inbox is dry, brands are not reaching out to you, go for it. Send a little email, try to inquire. There's nothing to lose, Someone did ask how I reach out to brands. I'm going to basically talk you through generally what I would be saying in a pitch email. First of all, finding the email address is the hardest part of the process. It can be really hard to find contact information. I would recommend scroll to the bottom of their brand website, see if in the breadcrumbs at the bottom, the little about section type area, if they have any sort of influencer contact page or sponsor page. Sometimes brands will have a form that you can fill out to express interest in working with them. Other times, if I can find any sort of contact email, even if it's just a general contact email, I'll reach out to that address and just be like, hey, I'm a YouTuber. I'm looking for your brand collaborations coordinator. Can you send me in the right direction? Who should I be reaching out to? And that's worked. I've gotten a brand's sponsorship email through doing that. If you do manage to find some sort of email to reach out to, basically what I would kind of say in an outreach email is, my name is Brielle. I have a YouTube channel, Brielle Writes. I'll link to the channel right in the email. That's very important. Make it as easy and low effort for them as possible. I make content about writing, and then I'll do some sort of personalization, either say I'm a big fan of your brand for XYZ reason, or I've seen you work with other creators in a similar niche to me. Maybe tell them why you think you would be a good fit for each other. Oh, I could totally see how I could integrate your brand by doing this or by saying this. I'm planning a video with this concept that I think you'd be a good fit for. Give them some indication of how you would integrate them. Make it clear that you're looking for a paid collaboration if that's what you're looking for, because you don't want them to think you're going to do a gifting or something for free. Don't waste your time. But I wouldn't necessarily ask for budget immediately just because you are the one reaching out. You want to get them talking first. Would love to discuss further details and possible rates if you're interested. Let me know, type of thing. That would be generally how I would pitch to a brand. And yeah, I do think a great place to start if you're looking for what brands to work with is look at creators who make similar content to you and maybe who even have sort of similar stats to you. See what brands they're working with. Have you turned any brands down? Yes, for various reasons. either it's a bad fit for my channel, the email looks scammy, they don't want to pay me, like they only want to do a gifting. I don't really do giftings. If a brand is really lowballing me, if I don't agree with the ethics of the brand, I turn down a lot of AI companies, gotten countless emails from like AI writing tools. I'm just not interested in working with a brand that's primary offering is AI based. What kind of requirements do they give you? This varies so much brand to brand. I personally strongly prefer a brand that gives me a lot of creative freedom. I find it kind of annoying when a brand tries to influence too much about the video or the integration. As the creator, I feel strongly that I know how to make a video. And so whenever a brand tries to be like, what if you titled it this? And it's just like a very ad like title and it just wouldn't do well, like that's kind of annoying to me. So I generally try to work more with brands who give me more creative freedom and who aren't going to be really annoying about like a million different revisions and very picky with the integration and all of that. When I do an integration, typically I'm negotiating to do a 60 to 90-second integration. That to me is like industry standard. It's what I'm always aiming for. Longer integrations, they could start to overpower the video a little too much for my comfort. I've had brands that keep it super open-ended. I've had other brands want to be more involved in the brainstorming process of the video concept. I have had brands make me fill out an entire creative brief explaining exactly how I'm going to talk about the product. But yes, there will typically be a time range that your integration needs to be in, as well as some guidance on what you should be talking about. It could be talking points, a few things they want you to mention. There's typically quite a bit of flexibility, at least in the brands I've worked with, which I really appreciate because I always want to say things in a way that's truthful and authentic to me. We'll talk about my freelancing business. I run a manuscript critique business all through my website, braillewrites.com. Like I mentioned, I started that 7 or 8 months ago, 6 months ago, something like that. It's been multiple months that I've been running this freelancing business. How did you get started freelancing and getting first clients? I did some research. I looked at some other people who do freelance editing services, looked at their websites, their Fiverr pages, started off with that market research, created my website using Squarespace. Would love to work with Squarespace one day. That is a dream brand partner right there. I do everything through my website. I'm not on any other freelancing platforms. I did debate it, decided against it, did not want to go onto Fiverr, Upwork, any of those, purely because I would need to price myself dirt cheap to get any sort of traction on those platforms, and that was not worth it to me. It would just not make sense for me to pour so much time, energy, effort into building a Fiverr account. Fiverr is so competitive. People are offering things at really affordable rates, and I think it can be a great place to build a freelancing business if that's the strategy you want to go to. But I chose the route of doing it through my own website, and instead of trying to gain organic traction on a platform like Fiverr, instead trying to create a symbiotic relationship between my YouTube platform and my YouTube audience and potential freelance clients. Since I have a YouTube audience full of writers, it kind of happened pretty naturally that way. Like it makes sense, right? That some of those writers might need something like a manuscript critique. They already like kind of know me and know my vibe and approach to writing and all of that through my videos. So they might be interested in working with me. So that's the route that I took. And therefore I did everything through my own website, and I'm glad that I did it that way. Going off of that, how did I get my first clients? Everything has been through the channel. I try to talk about my freelance services at the end of most of my videos. I do it at the end primarily just so it's not like really obnoxious. Every once in a while, I'll mention my freelance services earlier in a video. But yeah, I'm pretty much only promoting it through my social platforms, primarily YouTube. That's where my main audience is. I kind of hinted at this with my Fiverr discussion, but the way that I see it is there's two sort of primary paths for freelancers getting started. You either need to leverage your time or leverage something else. So for example, if I had been starting completely from scratch, I did not have a YouTube channel and I wanted to start freelancing, which I did do exactly this actually several years back, but that was a different era, different services. I would have gotten on Fiverr, put my rates extremely low, done the brunt work of doing a ton of client projects for dirt cheap because I had no credibility or platform or anything. The only way that I would be able to get clients if I did that was straight up through hustle. So that's the one freelancing route of like, You get on a freelancing platform, you set your rates really cheap, and you hustle until you get enough testimonials and cred basically to start charging more. Then you're just continuously upping your prices until you're making a reasonable amount of money. And I've seen several creators who have taken that path, and like that's the journey they took. It worked for them. That does work. But I knew that with the other stuff that I had already happening in my business and all of that, I didn't want to do that route. So instead, I chose to build everything based on my own platform and leverage a platform instead. So if you don't have any sort of platform, you probably are going to have to go that other route of trying to get organic traffic. And unfortunately, that means probably having to set your rates pretty low to start, unless you have like some crazy qualifications that you can really utilize and promote. How do you market? Basically just mentioning it in my videos. I have a pinned post on Instagram. The link for my services is in the description of every single one of my videos. A basic like marketing principle that I always remind myself of and that I think is really important is that people have to see something multiple times before they make a purchase, especially if it's something more pricey and sizable like a manuscript critique. So when I first launched my freelance services, things were really slow because people were just getting familiarized with the fact that this was something I offered. But I knew that I wanted to start just like putting it out there and sharing that so that people can get used to the idea of me being someone who offers critiques. And then, in 6 months when their manuscript is ready for something like that, they might think of me and be like, oh, doesn't Brielle offer that service? Let me go take a look at that. You kind of need to like plant seeds and slowly like share that you're doing the thing so that people start to remember, oh, Brielle does that thing. And then in the future, you'll start to sort of reap the rewards of those seeds you planted. So like now I'm getting really consistent clients, but it's because I've been laying the groundwork for months. Make it something you're mentioning repeatedly. Don't do it in an obnoxious, salesy, super marketing-esque way, but like have fun with it. Say it in kind of like a tongue-in-cheek, like side eye type of way. That's how I typically bring it up, is like kind of like, oh, and by the way, it feels less salesy and awkward that way. It feels more genuine to me. That energy is well received, I think. How do you determine what to charge? The way that I came about my rates was I looked at other people's rates, did some market research, factored into account that those people have been doing this much longer and have more experience than me. So obviously I was going to decrease from those rates. So I tried to find a good middle ground between what they were charging and then what I would think would be reasonable for the amount of time that I was putting into it. Like I knew if someone books me with a 100,000 word manuscript, that's going to take me many hours. So I'm not going to charge $100 for that. That would just not be worth it. So I kind of played around with the rate until when I was, doing the calculations of, okay, this is how much it would be for a 50,000 word manuscript. This is how much it would be for a 100K word manuscript. It felt fair. Like it felt fair for the amount of time that I would be putting into it. And I was comfortable with doing the service for that number. You want to find a middle ground where you don't feel like you're overcharging people because that's going to make you feel really weird and insecure and just not good. But you also don't want to be underselling yourself to the point where when you book a client, all you're thinking is, damn, I should have put my rates higher. This isn't even worth the amount of time that I'm putting into it because I'm getting paid so little. So when you have a number that doesn't make you feel either of those ways, I think that's a good place to start your rates at. Keep in mind that, of course, you can raise your rates, but you don't want them to be so low where you're going to be feeling gypped until you raise your rates. I still haven't raised my rates and I'm very comfortable with where my rates are at. I never feel like I'm overcharging people. It feels fair. It feels like good value to me. Like with the amount of love and care and attention I put into my critiques, I feel like I'm delivering enough value for what they've paid me. In case you're curious, I'm charging 0.005 per word, half a cent per word, I guess. And then if you add the line level add-on, it's 0.007 per word. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it valuable. If you did, comment down below a moose emoji. Let's bring back the moose emoji. I love the moose emoji. And yeah, I hope you found this encouraging if you're hoping to do something similar for yourself and also make some money from your creativity. If you have any other questions, leave them down in the comments. I'll do my best to answer. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.